Karin. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, let's start. And then people can tune in then if they want.
And we'll discuss today the world of diverse talent.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah. So we spoke about what made you being interested in diversity and inclusion, and it's diversity is very much more than just a gender perspective. Of course, it's about the culture. It's about a lot of things, and I got interested in that and have been living abroad myself and seen that there are different perspectives to a lot of things. So that made me interested in diversity and inclusion. And as I moved along, I got into recruitment and lived in the Netherlands for a couple of years. And that's where I started working for Untouchables. And now Untouchables Sweden is on the market for 4 years, operating in Sweden. And we wanted to invite you all for this webinar to highlight the possibilities you can reach when working with diversity and inclusion. Untouchables Sweden works with recruiting international talents that wants to go out on the job market in Sweden, and we connect them with companies that are open to a global and diverse talent. The world is becoming more global, and we are all world citizens, and the globality gives us richer life experiences, like moving countries and experiencing new things, and that makes us grow new perspectives and grow acceptance and diminishing discrimination, and we learn how we can use the impact of diversity. And if we get to know more about this, it helps to dispel then the negative stereotypes and the biases about different groups. And in addition, cultural differences or diversity also helps us to recognize and respect the ways of being of people that is not necessarily your own. So as we interact with others and meet and greet and discuss those things, we build bridges of trust and respect, so we can understand each other's cultures. And as today's society is global and diverse, companies are facing this when they need to recruit talents. And when they recruit, they need to mirror the society and making sure that they look to dare to hire someone that's different to themselves and see the added value, how it could be when someone looks at something differently. For example, if you go and buy a house, you bring someone that has different knowledge to what you have yourself, because if you only go there yourself with your knowledge, you don't need someone else. But if you want someone, an expert, for example, you ask someone who knows more about it, and then you go together, and then you can form a better opinion on something. And that's also happening in corporate life, of course. And as this is diversity and inclusion is happening out there, and it's very important, and we need to create awareness on this topic. Hence this webinar where we have invited you, Christine, our expert on the diversity inclusion. You have experienced growing up in Lebanon, having lived and worked in the UK and in Sweden and Dubai, having been a successful leader within the global HR, coaching diverse teams, etc. And now running your own company in, as you said, you want to give, make the world a better place for women and for everyone, where we embrace diversity and inclusion. So this is the topic of today, and I'm very glad to give the word to you. And
thank you so much, Karin.
An interactive thing, so don't forget to ask questions in the Q&A.
Yeah. Thank you, Karin, and thank you for the intro. I think diversity is about more celebrating our differences, and this is something that we cannot hide away from. One thing that as well, besides setting up my own company and being the vocal person about it, we have started together with 6 other women Leadership Hub, where we are very much working on accelerating the success of women in leadership positions. Yeah. And our network combine people from all around the world, and that's something that the candidate themselves value. Yeah. So without further ado, I would like to move on, and I just want you to, your name, we know your name, we could see them, Adelidina, Joanna, Peter, and Osa. Tell us, as a start, what is your relation to this topic? We talked about our relation to this topic. If you can drop us in the chat box, what is your relation to this topic? Why did you decide to come to this webinar? And if you have any expectations.
Except for you will hear everything that Christine has to say, and it makes it all sound very easy.
Yeah.
So we have no expectations, Christine.
Anything on the chat?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
So just go ahead.
Yep. I will keep on engaging with you, and I want to move into 2023. We are standing here together and we are celebrating that we have reached the target of attracting and retaining global talent. We have reached the target that we have every the companies that they have set those quotas and they have managed that. I want to ask you, and please add on to your to the chat, what is it that made it happen? What is it that you did differently this time that it made it happen? This is important for us to understand that this will not happen if we keep on doing the same thing what we've been doing today. And that's a topic that is becoming more frustrating for companies rather than, a motivational, because every time somebody talk about it, it becomes like, oh, it's heavy, it's difficult, it's not doable. What is it, do you think, that you have done differently to reach that target? If you could share it with us on the chat and we could look into it later on. What is important, and I will share with you one thing that need to shift, and that's the point where commitment comes into place. Today, we have companies, when they look at diversity, everybody, 71%, almost, they would like to have increased the diversity, people from a diverse background or experiences, etc., in their companies. However, 69% are committed for that hiring. And then when it comes to those companies, it becomes even more and more harder when you have only 47% of the manager accountable for interviewing a diverse candidate. So basically, we lose so many candidate and talent on the way because we don't hold each other accountable to what we have decided upon. So for me, deciding on a quota, it will not mean anything. It's going to be more frustrating if we don't commit and if we hold each other accountable. So this is a chain of effect that everybody has to recognize that. Karin, have you, within your lens of recruiter, and you have you experienced, what are company doing to hold their manager accountable or to stay committed?
I think I see that companies are more and more trying to create awareness among the whole layer of the company. It's not only something that the managers top down needs to do. It's about everyone being involved and aware and create acceptance of everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. If
we have something in the chat. I don't know if you want to read it.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you, Adelina. We'll keep on sharing with you. And, if I go into everybody today, all the companies are on a race for new ideas. Everybody, the business is shifting, the complexity is getting higher. The product are not sold anymore in one country. You know, in my neighborhood store, you know, you look at Amazon, when we buy something, we don't know the origin of that product. So that means that everybody is in this race. Everybody is like, I want to be first, I want to be faster, and I want to be with high quality. For that to happen, it doesn't happen by itself. If we need the best ideas, what do we need to have? We need to have many people in the room. And to have many people in the room, that means that with many people in the room and voices, we need to have different perspective. To have different perspective, you need different experiences. Yeah. And to have different experiences, you need so many people in the room. So it's no point to invite somebody, let's go and brainstorm together. Yeah. If you are from the same background, from the same university, from the same community, you will just rotate the same ideas on and on again. So for that reason, what we will need to look into is to say, diversity, bring the uniqueness of every single candidate or every single person coming in. What's unique about me? What can I bring that other person is not bringing? And this is something that sometimes talents start from this point underestimate themselves, because they don't specify, they don't go down to what is really unique about me. Yeah. And they just want to blend in. And that's the issue, that we don't want people to blend in. We want people to stand out from what they are unique. And to stand out for that, what they are unique about, we need to welcome those uniquenesses. We need to welcome those differences. And we need to secure that we appreciate them. We are there, we understand, we open the door, and then we get them to say that, yes, wow, I haven't seen that perspective. I love to hear more. This is very valuable. So this is the whole thing. So if we don't have the whole ecosystem of those three elements coming into place, we should not be surprised why people don't voice their opinion, why people, they're not valued, why companies, they are different than others. If we don't feel like we are accepted, we are valued, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Yeah. And those are three elements that they are at the same level of need to be in a place, because we cannot, because I see many people, we have hired so many diverse people, fair enough, but then after 6 to 8 months, the numbers start to erode. The people don't take, or they will stay all in one level in the organization. They're not allowed to promote. That as well will hinder, where is their voice going to be heard? Are they occupy core position or support backstage positions? So this is as well something to look into.
Yeah, and what's important here is that you say like, okay, yeah, well, now we've hired those 10 diverse people that we need to have for the quota, but it's also about like interacting with them and including them, and really take the benefit of having those on board, and not just feel good because you have that as a number of the quota, for example. So it's very important to constantly work on it and create the awareness and inclusion of everyone, of course.
Exactly. And this is something, then the diversity and inclusion and belonging does not become something that we need to have on the side. It becomes part of the business. This is the business case that we are after. And the brutal reality that awareness is not good enough anymore. You know, we like either we send people on a training, or we tell them, you know, you need to be you know, all those things. And then hiding from it is not an option. I see you. And then putting my head in the sand is not an option, because I'm, you know, like 89% of me is still visible. Yeah. And it's not affordable. The companies cannot afford anymore not having global talent on board. They cannot afford not having that kind of diversity, because the companies that do not have the diverse people on a decision making, they will have a gap in their strategy. Go-to-market strategy. They will not be able to survive in the long run. So those are elements that they are very important, where do we start from? Are companies starting from the business case, or are they starting from a quota, or from, we have a like a vacant position? So those are elements that they are important. For us to achieve that, overcome those hinders, people need to say that this is a priority. Yeah. My number one priority is basically to engage more, is to have, what is vital for me to do? What is my top one priority that I need to do to intentionally start including, to intentionally start hiring, to intentionally call Karin and say, Karin, I don't want the like those kind of profile. I would like this type of diverse profile. This is where, I would like to get so many different profile. I don't want you to give me only one person that is from one background at the end and tell me this is it. Yeah. So that diversity matter. Yeah, then I would go again. The second step that each company need to do is to look at their processes, at their system. And how you recruit, how do you onboard, how do you promote, the exit interview, what do you learn from them? Yeah. Because sometimes they say, yeah, those are a good leaver, or those are, it's good they left. And I heard so many times in company, this kind, it's like get rid of somebody, but you have spent so much money to onboard and to get them up and running. And all of a sudden, when they leave, you don't want to hear what they have to say. How do we reward those talent? Yeah. How do we measure people? How do they share knowledge? Knowledge is becoming as well one of the main assets, because we become very vulnerable in each company if we have the knowledge leaving with the people, if we're not able to secure that this knowledge is transferred. And then how do we learn? How to get people to grow? All those systems and processes has to be tweaked based on those priorities and based on the intention that we have. And last but not least, what are the habits you have in your company? What are the habits that we're having? When we talk about diverse talent, what kind of language do we use? Do we engage? Do we use jargon, jokes that they are misplaced completely? Do we use race type of words that they are okay for us in one country, but they're not okay for others? Yeah. How do we engage? Why some voices are heard and why some voices are not heard? You need to ask those questions to ourselves. How do we communicate? What's the leadership style do we have in this company? Is it a leadership style that is basically very clear that mistakes are not allowed, we do not tolerate failure, etc.? How will people dare to take initiative for a new idea? It will be impossible. Who are the influencers? Who are the people that they are influencing those decisions that they are taking? Are those influencers from the diverse background? Are they taking in with them the others' perspective, or one-sided? And then do we have a low safety environment, and with a high fear, or it's a safe environment where everybody can voice their opinion and where things are tolerated? And this is all about, why do I say watch out your dynamics? Because all those things that I mentioned on the habit sides, they're not something that we write. It's not, we write policies that says that we're allowed to do this, this, and this, but we don't say, what kind of language or the jargon or the jokes that you use. And those, we need to watch out those dynamics, because this is what will be the pace setter in every company, how people perceive the environment. So this is something that those three elements goes hand in hand, and they are enablers for moving into a more diverse and global talent. We cannot preach for a global talent if our home is not ready to accept them, Yeah. So this is something that we need to reflect upon. Karin, you have met so many companies and you have had so many different perspectives. What is it that made some companies better than others in those three perspectives?
Well, I think it's I think the companies that do succeed in this is the ones that are mirroring the society. I mean, the society is like young, old, national, international, Swedish, English, other languages. The ones that can see and succeed in putting it all together, it does take a lot of work and effort. They are the ones that are successful. I see, for example, I mean, a lot of startups, for example, I mean, they use English as their company language because they know that they want to hit the global market immediately. Mm-hmm. However, they may only attract a certain generation where you will not have the one spectrum of diversity either. So it's very important that people do look at diversity in the whole spectra. I see many companies that does that they do succeed. But yeah, and then yeah, who do you want to target when you do have a vacancy, for example? I mean, if you put it in a like, oh, we are the rising star and we are this and we're the best, etc., you won't attract a certain group of people that might be the group of people that you need to integrate into your company. So it's very much about okay, what is our company culture? What is our company communication? What do we need to attract? What do we need to achieve? So companies that really look into the whole spectrum are the ones that do succeed in this. And I think they will be the companies that survive until 2023, I guess.
And the ones celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think one thing you mentioned, that sometimes they preach for something they don't do, or they think they want this, but in fact they don't want. And this goes from having aspirational goals to have real goals that they are fitting the business situation, the circumstances, and hiring for the future right now, rather than hiring from the here and now. Yeah. And this is something extremely important when we look at the priorities. Don't have them as aspirational, have them as something concrete that you can break them down and make it happen. And I think this is something that I want to bring in within this webinar, to be concrete enough, not to talk about fluffy things, because many people think that it's fluffy, but we need to break it down to what is it really that we want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So one thing that company need to start doing is finding the balance inside their work environment between the individual, between the organization and the teams. Because if we have at a group level or at a company level or community level, we have a diverse team, we have the CFOs, we have the subject matter expert, and they're putting so many programs in place. Again, those programs or plans, etc., they are more not dynamics, they are something set, they are something written. If we don't go to the individual and the individual start to say, okay, what does it mean for me? What would that mean, to say that we need to embrace diversity? Let's put it this way. What does it mean?
But how do we do it?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You need to be open to other. You need to have a different mindset. You need to stop being the knower and becoming the learner. You need to start being, the open mindset to say that, okay, wow, let me hear you. Even though I know the answer, you should not be answering it. Just like you need to hear the other perspective. So all that has to go into the individual, and the individual has to be at the center of, this is something I impact, and they need to understand that I impact other people. The way I behave, the way my habits are, the way I deal with my colleagues, and here I move into the team side, the way I deal with my team members, the openness, the learning, the collaboration, cooperation, that matters. And this is something that the company should not keep an eye away from. They should be very clear. This is accepted, this is not accepted. These are the norms in the team. This is how we work. We could be very flexible, but everybody need to show up to the stand-up meeting at 9:00, because this is the time where everybody will be informed. So this is a way not to exclude somebody.
Yeah.
And this is about, and then when it comes to the organization, they need to here we need to be able to secure that we have the environment that, how do we talk about failure? How do we talk about, people from different, onboarding people? How do we work proactively with biases? And this is something, biases are not a taboo. Biases operates all the time. We have, you will be astonished that we operate 90% on our biases and 10% is awareness. So if we will not be able to talk about those biases and make them understand their impact on us, we will not be able to change the way that we take choices or we decide on things. So there is a formula that I like about, moving from being unconscious to being conscious. The formula is awareness, intention, and consistency. Repeat. It's a hard work getting a new habit. We enter a room right now and by automatically we put the switch on. Imagine that every time you need to enter the room and you're like, why it's dark? What shall I do? You wonder. It has to become a new habit that you embrace that. So this is, and we need to dare. So biases are there. We need to talk about them. We need to understand what they are in the environment where we're in, and we need to dare to challenge our own belief and change them.
Yeah.
So, Karin, what kind of biases have you encountered with leaders then when you do the recruitment or with the recruitment or with the participants, candidates?
Yeah, I think it all starts with having the acceptance we're all okay. We all have a value and accept each other's differences and embrace that could be good. I mean, for example, we teach introvert people to be extrovert, but we don't teach the extrovert people to calm down to meet with those people. You know what I mean? So what I have encountered is that that people that are able to see that there are differences and that it's okay to have those differences and to have interest in someone else and to see okay, he's from, or he or she is from a different nationality or a different ethnicity. To look beyond that, then you have succeed in taking away your own biases. I think, and I think the most important is then to be aware yourself about what your biases are. So, for example, I had a question today on should you put a photo on the resume or not? And I said, yeah, it's a very tricky question, because if I look at that photo, I see it with my eyes, and if someone I like the photo, or I don't care if it's a dark or a white person, for example, but if someone else looks at it and they have problems with it, yeah, there you go already. So it's about being aware of your own biases when looking at that photo. For example, that is what you need to encounter.
Yeah. And many companies right now, they're going away from that. They're going away from having even names on that. They're going away, it's such until you reach the hiring panel. And specifically, one pitfall right now is the AI, the way we set AI in the recruitment. And I know many companies right now, they're reviewing because if the person that has coded that program have a one perception of things, by default, your choices or the selection will be biased by itself, will be AI biased.
Automatic bias.
Exactly.
That's true.
So this is something that, the companies, that's why the system and processes that we are using, they need to be coded by different people that have different perspective, or many people invited on it. And that's the important things. And please, on the chat, I would like to, one participating, don't shy away. You could share with us your stories, and if something you have felt that has shifted in you from a bias that you had to something that you became more aware of, please share it with us. I think share it with all the panelists, because that's, I think it's important that we learn from each other, because biases, we don't see them now because they operate automatically by default.
Yeah.
I would say that, you know, for me, as I said, moving from a small country where we didn't have, you know, we only had the expat, the British, the Americans, when I went to London, I recognized that, you know, that I only gonna find those, but then I found the Indian, I find, you know, the Korean, I find the Japanese, it's like, wow, my palette of colors became much wider. And I could see the element and I could understand, you know, I tell them a stretched mind will never go back to its old place. Yeah. So, you know, this is where I think the ability to explore those together, I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see in the recruitment, like where we have success in helping our international candidates, is where the hiring managers have also been exposed to an international environment or a diverse environment, because then they're open to it, and that helps a lot, of course.
Mm. Yeah, correct. Okay, I have a little bit of it. Voilà. Okay, to move from intentions again to actions, because to stay on like aspiration, I don't like it. I would like us to go into something that is more tangible. What do companies need to do? One is to say that attracting and retaining diverse talent, it's a joint effort in the whole company.
Yes.
Don't limit it to women and don't limit it to HR initiatives. I have read the report where they said that 71%, you know, they normally put it on HR. Yeah. And this is just the wrong way to start. Yeah. It has to be, and then they have 16% on top level, and then the rest of the percentage of the organization. This is just the other way around that it has to be, because if it doesn't become. So to do that, companies need to truly believe in diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And they need to show the commitment to make that change. Without the commitment, you know, if you remember my first slide, we will go down with many percentage points that this will not happen. The second point that I would like, you know, understand the impact of exclusion. Because sometimes when we say to people, tell me what is inclusion is about. Then if you start by saying, okay, tell me what is exclusion is about. Oh yeah, let me tell you, when I was in this meeting and nobody addressed me, you know, I was sitting and as I was invisible, you know, how can they do that to me? And then you start to understand what's the impact of inclusion. That person that has been sitting and nobody saw them, and when they tried to talk, they were not listened to. The second time they will not talk, or they will not, you know, they will make excuses why not showing up for that meeting, or not why don't put my camera on in a team right now when we are in Zoom meeting and we only meet, why they are not the one that lift their hand when there is an initiatives, because I don't see them. Acknowledge those gaps and create new habits. We talked about new habits. New habits are possible to create. Nobody can say that we are not able, it's impossible. It's just like right now, we didn't have the habit to every time you go around, you use hand sanitizers or you do that.
Yeah, and we have changed,
with my discussion with my kids, I just like, we need to build up new habit. And then my son told me this morning, do you think it's easy? I said, absolutely not. I think it's not easy at all. However, it is needed right now. And we need to secure that people do it, because otherwise it has a high level of danger for you and the people around you. And this is, we need to acknowledge it. We need to tell people this is the gap that we have and this is how we need to go around it. And last but not least is to put a top priority, use data. There is a lot of, you know, multi-dimensional data that we can use. This is not like gender or let's measure how many tenure in the company. There is multi-layer data that can be coupled, there is one of the main jobs or skills that they are right now, it's data analysis. In the World Economic Forum latest report about jobs in 2025, I think, they said that the critical skills that they are is analysis, problem solving, and the data analytical skills. Beside learning, which is number 4. So use the data, measure, see the result, and then celebrate. We are so doing so many good things, and we never, say to each other, "Well done."
Yeah, exactly. No, we did by preparing this. We also mentioned like, okay, well, how can companies then do this? What would be then tools for them to really create this? And there are a lot of companies then, of course, that makes those data. You have, for example, the Albright Group. They make a big survey and they create data for companies to use in mirroring themselves in okay, how diverse are we, and diverse then in the broad sense of diversity, not only gender perspective. So that one can use as tools. We have one partner called a quality check where their own employees can rate the company in terms of how do we feel as individuals in this organization, and how is it shown? Because one can think like, oh yeah, but we've ticked all the boxes, we're doing this, but how is it embraced within the organization, and mirror that back and use those data in order to say, okay, are we there yet, or where do we need to work on, and where you think like, oh, we've covered that, but it might not be received by the people themselves. And not to forget is that the personnel does create a culture within the company. So yeah, inclusive in that sense is also very important. Okay, where do we want to go, and how can people help us, and how can we do it together in that sense?
That's true. And one thing that is important is that the aggregated habits in a company create that culture. So if we don't set that culture as management or as a leader or as myself, as I am responsible as well as an individual coming in, culture will bubble up. It will be a bubble inside a bubble inside a bubble, and then subculture that they are, and then people do not know what kind of environment is that I'm in, and what is right from wrong. So this is, and then what you mentioned, all the studies that they have been done. I think I would challenge leaders as well. Well, we don't have enough women going out of tech. Yes, we have 26%. Why in the company we have 1% of them? Why don't we put more effort in that? But we need this data, and that's why I'm saying use the data, use this expertise. And I know that many companies right now within HR, they are having data analysts as well with the team to get this important aspect.
Yes.
I didn't want to just, as I said to you, to be very much on a high level. I have put together, what kind of KPIs we could use, because what measured get done. And to move from, to turn those opportunity into intention and intention into action, we could measure so many things. We could have, like KPIs such as the number of talent promoted, promoted in your unit, diverse leader appointed, diverse women, diverse employees or women recruited in that, or who is holding a core function or not. How is the talent bench is built? And all those things, they can be followed up, they could be measured, and they can be rewarded afterward. And this is where role models come in place. We need to celebrate those role models that will make it happen. Because this is something that many companies, they will only measure how many people do I recruit, and that's not enough.
Yeah,
exactly. There is another layer of KPIs that needs to be in place that will help companies to measure how good are we doing on our sides. And it's not enough to put things on people. If there is something, put the what, the how, where will it happen, who will do it, when will it be done, why we are doing that. And that's important, because if you want to secure that, people are accountable. You remember the first one again, I go on the accountability. If the manager are not held accountable, they will not interview anybody from a diverse background. So to secure that accountability, you need to put all those elements in place and all this framework. And it should not be something on the top of the layer. It should be part of what your system is about. Don't see one, this is another layer that we need to add. No, this is the layer. It has to become part of the layer. Any comment or questions that we have, Karin?
No, they were all quiet. Yeah.
Okay. And call to action. And here, this is something that, even though my list is a little bit long, but diversity is not an outcome, it's a strategy for business success.
Yes.
We need to talk to people with authenticity, talk to them with like, I really see you, I value you, include all perspective in all programs that we have. Don't pick up the same people all the time. Don't get the same voices heard. Create role models, dare to challenge your own belief and the belief of others. And here I'm not saying challenge in a way, aggressively, or challenge in a way like, let's challenge for the sake of challenge. No, but, intentionally understand, let me stop. Am I doing the same thing that I've been doing before, or should I open up? Or why do other people are doing the same? Where this belief come from? Stay consistent and consequent. Don't let, if there is somebody that is not doing what they are supposed to do, they impact much more the sphere that they impact a larger amount of people. So if you are not consequent, people will not take things seriously and will not do it. Leverage, as I said, multidimensional data. Be intentional in all what you do, and embrace progress over perfection. This is not something that we will reach and we will put a dot and then there is a point and then we're done. It's
gonna live with it.
Exactly. So every time we can see the goal, it moves 2 meters away from us. So we will need to go down a little bit further down. So there is no perfection, there is progress. And progress, sometimes you say, somebody will tell you, what do you think about you will tell them, this is good progress. They get upset because they're looking for like, wow, to get that. But progress is good. Progress is moving forward, no matter what we do, never stop.
And there the communication part comes in also. It's very important that you have an open communication. If you look to diversity, introvert, extrovert, how do you make that introvert person communicate? Because it's so important to involve everyone.
Exactly. Exactly. Karin, from the gender perspective, did you see anything specific when you are recruiting between female and men when you are candidates, and why some are better than others, or they tend to get successful more than others?
Yeah, well, I must admit that I have not really come across that problem in the diversity of female male. Of course there are some professional groups that are more female than male, but in the recruitments that we do, I have not really seen that they pick a woman because they don't want the man, for example. So and maybe that's also the way we try to trigger our clients or challenge our clients in the recruitment, in saying like look at the person and look at the skills, and then it doesn't matter if it's a male or a female. And again, as I say, in some groups of professions there are more female than male, and the other way around. But I think we try to, as we look to the diversity in general, it is quite a good balance in the recruitments that we do. So I maybe not be the right person to ask about that, because I haven't experienced that much, I must admit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So might not be the right answer, but
I think that's fair. I think that's perfect. That means that you have where your candidate are international, where your candidate and your client are more their mindset on this. I think there you have much more this equal opportunity for both sides.
Yeah. I do have clients that say like, oh, well, for this particular department, we need a female, or we need a man because it's male or female dominated. That I do come across, of course, but that is only a good thing, I think, because that means that they are aware of that, oh, we need to have that balance. Because I mean, everyone knows that having 10 female in a room is not also always good either. So it's and I'm only glad that the organizations do ask me to do so in terms of, I mean, yeah, it's a sort of a discrimination also, but it's more than to look into. Yeah, we need to have a balance, and that they address that. I think that's just a good thing. And again, I'm that kind of person or recruiter then that will tell the companies saying like, oh, well, I don't think that you're right in that sense, or way you should look at that this way. So we try to challenge them then there as well.
So then you're doing a lot of good things as well by challenging their beliefs and challenging the way they are coming through. Because once you have built that relation with your client, you're able much more to from the beginning to say, and this is how what the value added, because that's a value added. It's not about challenging and criticizing, because
exactly, it's more to help, of course. In that
if
sense.
they will not use your expertise, it's a shame, to be honest with you, that they will not use it. Because you have a perspective that they might be very valuable for them as well. And something that Adelina, of course, you mentioned, I managed to read that as well, with your thought about, when we look at ourself, to be able to move in and to be part of that environment is to acknowledge ourselves, what's good about us, what's unique, our competence. And many times I meet right now, like a PhD student, I mentor them, and I, talk to, when I ask them, your strengths is not starting from scratch right now, as if you have built them just to, but you have 20 years of living experience that you have built so many things. Be aware of your competence. Preparing the candidates to meet the companies and recruiter is extremely, I found that myself, very valuable right now as I mentor a few students. And be aware, what do you want? Go be it's not go only for good for my CV. Sadly, right now, many of the students are faced, of course, this is a very tough situation for everybody that is graduating. However, the market is big, so basically we need to know where do we want to play, where is that I will feel good about it, where I will use best, as you said, Adelina, my competence and my expertise to help others to see it.
I must also say, when we're talking about global talents, I mean, what's happening now that everyone are more or less forced to work remotely, and where people and companies see that does work, that does open up for more diversity and more globality, because I have one client that they are even looking into, okay, we need these skills, but we can't find them here. So why don't we get them out elsewhere and we work remotely, because we want to create this. And that makes the world of recruitment also a lot bigger, because then you don't just have to look locally. And there it's very important then to embrace the fact that you can hire global talent and what that can add to your company.
Exactly. And many companies, to add on to that, they are, looking at something right now, calling it like the fluid workforce. The workforce that is everywhere. I don't need anymore to repatriate somebody from Argentina to Stockholm to do the work if they are able to onboard them well, to get them. And the whole onboarding is reworked right now to make people feel. And one thing I have been very vocal about physical distancing that we are experiencing right now does not mean social distancing, because we could still can communicate, we still can connect as individuals, get to know each other. If I look at me and you, Karin, last year we were meeting in the same workplace. I would say this year I've been able to talk to you, see you more than I did last year when we were together. So it doesn't mean connecting with people has another layer and anatomy that we can work with, and we just need to say that because we are physically disconnected, we cannot connect with people or newcomers. It's harder, it's more intentional, but it is possible.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Any questions? More? No questions. We have a fantastic, we are hopefully answering all their questions. Then I will go to my last message to everybody by saying that if you do not intentionally include, you will unintentionally exclude. And this is something we need to be aware of it. We should stop reading more about diversity and why we read enough. We need to turn those opportunities into intention and those intention into actions. No matter how beautiful this cupcake and delicious is, if it will not go on the top with the donut circle, it will not be appreciated.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's bear in mind.
So the inside needs to taste well as well, or not?
Exactly. So I want to leave you with this and saying that stay alerted and conscious in everything that you do. And I think we will be able to reach that and do it more and more again.
Yeah. So we have one chat here, Christine.
Yeah.
From OSA.
OSA, almost 20% of female are ISFJA, while majority of men. Oh yeah. How do you ensure that rare personality type get represented? That's a very good question. And I personally also, I'm a person that do not like the labeling and the label somebody red, label somebody blue. What I like to start from, what is it needed in that environment? Do we need all type of personality? Because the more and more the environment is strict to one of those combination of letters, it will get thinner and thinner when it comes to ideas, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to innovation. So don't expect, it's like, don't expect you will get another result if you're gonna keep the same people. So we need to ensure that management is aware that having those type of combination of letter that they are similar will give me the same result, will not give me a competitive advantage. And this goes from awareness. This goes from talking about it, because what you're raising is extremely important, but I see very few leadership team taking that discussion on the table. Why do we need a female? They start that let's take a percentage rather than take another perspective.
Yeah.
I hope I have answered your question. Any others?
They're very shy.
I think
or you covered
we have 1 more minute, and Karin, would you like to give the final word and maybe?
Well, as I said in the beginning, I mean, the society is diverse, and even if we don't travel that much at the moment, we do have influences from all over, and it's so important to embrace that, together we're strong, I always say. and creating the awareness on this topic is very important, and to try to live it every day, of course, but not always succeeding, but talking about it and creating awareness, I think is a very good start. And and I really enjoy the ways you explain things and how you make it sound very easy, even if it's a very heavy topic in that sense. So thank you very much, and we will continue with a follow-up in somehow.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody that took the time and was part of that. And you can, I think you will get the recording and will later on. I think, Kirsten, would you like to say something at the end?
From Untouchables recruitment, well, yeah, well, thank you. I thought it was a very interesting webinar and interesting subject, and I'd like to thank you, Christine and Karin, for hosting this expert talk for Untouchables Sweden and Fit to Grow. It was a nice cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a nice afternoon.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.